Welcome everyone to our third week of our God at Work midweek series. Thanks for watching. I hope these are encouraging to you. We are having conversations each week with different Memorial Road members, even some friends of Memorial Road who are at other congregations. We're just seeing how they're doing and seeing how their 2020 went, what they're hopeful for in 2021, and just seeing how they feel God has been at work, even in a very difficult year. So I want to welcome our guest tonight. This is a co-worker of mine and his wife. I'm very excited to welcome Terry and Kelli Fischer to our broadcast. Hey guys, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. So before we get into too much content, Kelli, how's your arm?
It's good. It's a little sore.
Yeah?
So I just literally 30 minutes ago got my second vaccine.
We are excited for you. That is great news. So for people who might not know you both, why don't you introduce yourselves quickly? And Kelli, you might include the reason that you are getting a vaccine at this point.
Yeah. So I'm Kelli Fischer, and I work for Concordia Life Plan Community, which is a retirement community. So all of our staff and residents were all took the vaccine at the end of December. And so for that reason, I was able to get mine because I do work with people in that age category. And then I got my second one today.
That is awesome. We are excited for you. I know so many people watching this are hopeful and excited about whenever their turn comes. People are working hard to get appointments, and I'm so grateful that that's available. So congratulations to you. I know that gives hope and encouragement to so many of us. Terry, we work together, so I know you really well. Why don't you tell everyone who you are and what you do?
Yeah, I'm Terry Fischer. I'm the community outreach minister here at Memorial Road, and so I kind of consider my job helping the congregation with good deeds and sharing of good news, both. And so that's kind of what I work with. Part of my work the last few years has been also helping us with our church plants, both at Heritage and also at Midtown, and the others that we've done in the past as well.
Well, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, Terry and Kelli, is because the congregation has had, you might say, a misfortune of seeing a few of us a lot in front of the camera for different reasons. And so we've been maybe a little more visible, but we haven't been working any harder than everyone else. You've been working really hard. Your work has been maybe less visible on screens, but has been really equally important during this time. So just, can you both talk to me about what 2020 was like for you?
Sure. Kelli, you want to say anything first? Or?
Well, as far as, I guess on a personal level, 2020, it changed a little bit about my work because I obviously had to start working from home since it is a retirement community. I was supportive of residents. I would call residents every day. So a lot of listening, that type of thing. And then with the church, obviously we've been helping with Serve Midtown Church, that church plant. And then what Terry does here, at Memorial Road. So. Yeah.
For us, I think working more at home was a change, obviously. Still came up to the office for things, even though it was often fairly deserted, or if you did encounter somebody, you stayed away. So it was a different feel about work, but it's as we all know, it's been a real different feel this year, but it feels a little bit more at work, like things are somewhat back to normal, still longing for the time when we can have those face-to-face meetings with people without thinking that through carefully and a little more on the spur of the moment at times. But it's been a different year.
It sure has. I want to hear a little bit more in a minute about your particular work and how that was affected, but maybe just on a more personal note, as much as you feel comfortable sharing, have you or anyone close to you had COVID-19 this year?
Pretty early on in the pandemic, I got word from my dad, who still lives up in Kansas in the small town where I grew up, that one of the members of the church there got COVID, and then after being hospitalized for a couple weeks, passed from it. And that was a little hard on my dad. It was somebody he would visit with every day and lived in the same senior apartment complex that he did. But it was also somebody that, as I was growing up in that small town, I would worked for this man. He had a farm nearby, and I would help him put up hay and different things throughout the year. So somebody I really knew well. So it became very real to me early on in the pandemic. And since then, we've known a few others. Just today, I found out that our former teammates in Brazil, David and Barbara Duncan, have gotten the virus as well. So yeah, people we know are suffering.
Yes, and so I have had several really close friends that have lost their parents to COVID. So it's been kind of hard, but also just trying to support those children as they lose a parent. And then also my brother and his wife and 14-year-old child, they also had COVID about 3 weeks ago. They live in California. Their symptoms weren't real serious, so they're doing well. So,
Well, those are significant losses, and I know a lot of people watching have experienced losses in their family and in their friend circle as well. Besides the losses we think of quickly, which is loss of life and health during COVID, I wonder if there are some other losses that you experienced in 2020, things like routine or normalcy or stability, any of those things that you also experienced this past year.
For me, the loss of just those lunches and coffee with people and really meeting with them in person. You know, Zoom is great for what it can do, but it's not quite the same as actually sitting across the table from somebody. And I really felt a sense of loss in my work because I did a lot of my work and my interpersonal relating with people in those settings. And so I felt that as a loss in my practical aspects of my job. Then for our kids, we're empty nesters, but our kids are still in the metro area, and our son had a pretty new business that had been going about a year, and he owns a coffee roastery and a coffee shop along with it, and he had to close the coffee shop part, and so that was a big change for him. His business has since flourished in many ways as he really put emphasis on the roasting part and selling to individuals and restaurants in the area, but for a while there, it was a little unsure of how that was going to work out. So. What would you add?
Yeah, for me, relationships, that was hard, not being able to see the residents that I work with as far as my job goes, and just, being able to hug, being able to, shake hands and those types of things. So I think that has been a loss, and I'm more of an extrovert. And so it was especially hard, I think, those first couple of months where I felt like, man, I'm just not around people. So yeah, so that was difficult. But
well, so I mean, I'm asking you, it's different when you're talking to a fellow staff member, but all of us have made different choices and different connection levels during the pandemic. Even some staff are here in person, some are online, some are a mix, just like our elders. And just because we're staff, I mean, we're also church members too, and we have friends here and connections. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit about how you've been connected and how you've stayed connected to your church family during this year.
Well, I'd say, yeah, that's a little tougher. I have a health situation that makes me a little more vulnerable if I were to get the virus. So I've pretty much stayed online during this year for most of it. I do come up to the building and do First Cup, and I stand at the back of the auditorium and listen in, but I haven't put myself in big crowds too much. But I've tried not to let it stop me from ministry. I still do some one-on-one tutoring with our Firm Foundations program, and have gotten out early on when we were feeding the Edmond School District kids and things like that. So try not to let me stop me from doing things, but I've tried to be a little wise in that. Then the Midtown church plant that we worship with often as well is completely online. And for this time, they met a few times outside in the late summer and fall when they could, but now that it's cold, they're online. So we've been pretty much doing that. So,
which actually has been kind of nice as far as worshiping with Midtown online. Our daughter and she actually just got engaged over the pandemic, so that's a neat thing for us in 2020. But her and Zach come and they worship with us online with Surf Midtown as well. So that's been kind of neat.
So as you reflect on this past year, talk about some ways you have seen God at work in the midst of a very difficult year.
For me, I would say we noticed it really soon in our neighborhood that people that rushed into their houses and things now are willing to stand around and talk across the driveway or across the street. And I think it's really opened up some communication and some at least beginnings of some relationships in our neighborhood with people that we just didn't know before. So that's one way. Second way I've seen is just sometimes on the good deeds part in Edmond, Oklahoma, it was really hard to see big needs. I mean, yeah, there were some people that had some needs, but during the pandemic, it was pretty obvious that we needed to support our people that were more shut in, the senior adults among us, and our health workers, and then our teachers as they were getting ready to go back to school. Some of those needs were just very apparent. And so there's some clarity there of some things that we as a church could do that I thought was really a blessing from God. What would you add, Kel?
Yeah, I think meeting neighbors and then getting to know them, and even through the ice storm, helping each other as we cut down trees and carry them to the curbside. So I think that opened up some great opportunities, just all the things that have gone on. For me, I would also say just prayer has been, I've had many opportunities to pray with people and for people, whether that's through my work or people reaching out to me, or even just texting prayers. But I think for me, prayer has been what's carried me through, honestly, and with friendships and deepening those relationships as well has just been through prayer. So.
I think another way that God's been at work, Josh, and I hope we don't allow this to be forgotten, is I think he's just used this to help us all focus on some different things, to realize that we can't control quite as much as we'd like to, but that we can be confident that he is in control. And so I think he's been at work in my attitudes and my thoughts in that way, and I hope I let that continue. So.
Yeah. You mentioned some of the ways your work has been affected. I think all of us could talk about, we've felt hamstrung at times because the ways that we do ministry have been so restricted, and yet we've all seen new opportunities emerge as well, even if we're not sure fully how to take advantage of them. So I wonder if you've noticed any opportunities that emerged in the midst of the pandemic that maybe we haven't really capitalized on yet. Maybe we have, but just what opportunities have you seen emerge?
I think one has been our Firm Foundations program. We saw a need that school was going to be online several days a week and in person others, and families that maybe both worked or were single parents really had a need for some help with getting their kids some help with the online activities. And so I think that's really been an opportunity. I think we have 7 or 8 families from the community represented in the ones that are participating with us, and that's formed some ongoing relationships that we may not have formed if it wasn't for the pandemic and this circumstance.
Well, let me ask you both this as we close. What are you most hopeful about for 2021?
Kel?
I think just, I'm hopeful that 2021 can be a better year in all aspects. Just so many things have happened this year. But I think I really, truly hope that people will find a dependent upon God, that we are dependent upon him. And so for people that don't know Jesus or don't know God, I hope that people are more open to learning about, what he can do for us in our lives. So that's probably the biggest thing for me is that. So.
Yeah, I hope that we can all enjoy the blessing of returning to a little bit of normalcy if God gives us that. But I am hopeful that we'll take to heart some of the things that we learned in that, maybe reliance on him, reliance on prayer to him. And also I think just a deeper appreciation and valuing of our church family, that it was a loss to not be able to meet with them in the same way. And I hope we'll all keep that appreciation for that blessing.
Thanks to both of you for being on. Kelli, again, we're excited for you having received the vaccine. It's a good thing when that begins to be distributed, so we're excited for that. I'm also just really grateful for the work that you both do in your different careers, but the way that you serve our church and our community. So much of your work has not been probably featured on YouTube for better or for worse, but you are doing really important work serving our community, and our church is lucky to have you. So thanks for being on today. We appreciate your time.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for watching. We're really grateful that you are continuing to tune into these episodes of God at Work. Feel free to leave Terry and Kelli a greeting in the comments here on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're watching this, and they'll see that. They'd love to hear from you that you are watching this either when it's premiering, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. or later at the time of your choosing. We'll be back here again, same place, Wednesday nights, 7 p.m. for more God at Work. Thanks for watching.